This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's the tight. Here we go. It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. It's tricky. 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 It's tricky to rock around. To rock around. That's right. On time. It's tricky. Tricky.
All right. It is Inauguration week. Your worst fears have been realized, and Donald J. Trump has ascended to the highest office of the United States.
Yeah, pat yourselves on the backs, Democrats. That's what happens when you don't do work.
Thanks, Democrats. Okay, so when it comes to the actual speech, I mean, it was about 20 minutes long. A lot of it was basically kind of what you would expect, populist stuff. My biggest take from it would be what sounded to me like his proposition of a New Deal.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the most like policy that he put into his speech. I think
there wasn't much to it.
A good majority of his speech, you can just refer back to campaign speeches. It's all it's all the same stuff. It
was populist. It was
we're gonna be great, yay! And that's neat. But that really is just a political play. Mm-hmm. But as far as the we'll call it for our own selves, the New Deal goes. I don't think anybody, Republican or Democrat, left or right, is going to argue that infrastructure is a bad thing to do. Infrastructure is a good thing. And anywhere that you can put people back to work building things that's a job created. What I would wonder, as far as from the perspective of the Trump voter, who commonly
that's me
commonly supported this idea that Trump's policies would be best for the middle class. While infrastructure is a great thing, it's not going to be proportionately. The common Trump supporter is the white, lower to middle class. Rural,
it's the working class.
It's the working class. It's the
blue collar,
the red country state, like,
that's right.
and or the red section of the state, and that's fine. What I would argue, though, as far as infrastructure goes, is you're going to invest in programs that will make the most money fastest, right? Because that's what you do. That makes the most sense. Where I would think the most money would be made is in big population hubs, i.e. cities like Philadelphia, Chicago, these big, large population hubs. That is the territory of the Democratic voter. So while it's not a bad thing for those cities to gain from that, it doesn't really affect the Trump voter.
See, that's where I think you're wrong. I think it does. This bill that apparently they're going to be trying to put forward is, the number that they're throwing around is $1 trillion. They want to invest $1 trillion into infrastructure. And I think that they're going to do it the right way, which is the Republican way, which is to allot that money of $1 trillion and then take it to the states and figure out how much each state needs, and then let the states decide where they need it. So I think it will help out. Like, let's take Missouri for an example. There's places where our bridges need fixing, our roads need fixing. That's going to put Missouri blue collar Missouri workers back to work building.
Yes, I agree.
So it's gonna trickle down to them in a sense. And
in a sense, it will. I don't think that as many jobs will be created in Joplin, Missouri, working on highways, as will be made in Philadelphia, improving Amtrak's and improving railroads.
Yeah. Well, obviously, they're going to try to enter in, and being from St. Louis, we've got the MetroLink, we've got those things,
right? So I don't. But my only argument would be that, because you're talking about, and I agree that if it is left up to like a states, if it's allotted kind of like the Obamacare thing, where you could buy into it or you could opt out of it and not take the federal funding from it.
I don't think anyone's going to opt out of it. I mean, I think if the states are going to be given some money to build their shit back up, then they're going to be doing it.
But I think you will find less jobs from that Republican voter map. There will be less jobs created for those people than there will from the Democratic voter map just because of population size.
That works out too. It's going to bring more people from the Democrat, let's say Detroit and all these other areas that are obviously, we saw Michigan, we saw Wisconsin vote red this time.
They did.
So they obviously think the same thing. They think that, hey, if we start getting back to work, there's a lot of people out there that they're not working right now.
There's a lot of people too that voted red. I mean, I think that you have to kind of take the fact that Wisconsin and Michigan and states like that don't typically go red. There's a reason that they went red, and it's not just because they liked what Donald Trump said.
No, they liked the whole New Deal business.
Hillary Clinton was a horrible candidate. She took for granted those blue states.
We're going to agree on that one.
She thought that she thought that she had them, and she took them for granted.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you just look at sheer numbers, Democrats not showing up to vote is why Donald Trump is your president now. So Republicans, in a sense, didn't win the election. Democrats lost the election because if you look at the sheer hard data, Donald Trump pulled off 1 million less votes than Mitt Romney. Hillary Clinton got 2 million more votes than Mitt Romney. Yeah. Okay, but what she didn't do was she didn't get the 4 million extra votes that Barack Obama did. Had Democrats showed up to vote, Donald Trump's not your president.
They weren't excited. Well, I don't agree with you when you say that. You know, the Democrats. I do think the Democrats lost, obviously, but I think that the Republicans won too. There was areas of the country that have been blue for the longest time that went red. And it wasn't just because Democrats didn't show up. It was also because a lot of them switched their votes.
I don't disagree with you. I historically vote for the Democrat. This year I did not. I was part of the problem that I am assigning to the Democratic base, which was you guys went out and voted for Gary Johnson. You voted for Jill Stein. You voted for me.
The Republicans are doing the same
thing. And
Republicans went out and you saw so much opposition from the Republican side against their own candidate.
Well, and
I think next time around they're not going to do that. So I think they already built in. He's going to have more Republican voters. Just because he is the one that's in power right now, and they don't want to lose it.
Maybe we'll see. As long as his second act of the presidency isn't the same as his first act, just reminding us how big his dick is.
Yeah, that would be nice because he loves doing that.
Because he does. I mean, the White House, the first address to the nation is, "Hey, my crowd was bigger than yours." Well, which
is just wrong.
So I don't.
Yeah, there's like I said. I mean, I'm not going to be able to defend that part because
it's a lie.
Because it is a lie and it is indefensible. There's really no way that I can try to spin it and make it look better for us. He basically came out and was like, "Hey, by the way, I've had the best." Crowds ever, and he didn't. Like, we watched it.
Donald, there are cameras from 2012. What's going on?
Not a good look. It's definitely not a great look from the first day of his presidency, where he literally orders his guy to go out there and lie to the American people. So, but like I said, administrations have lied continuously in the past, and that's nothing new.
No, it's not.
And I think that in the long scheme of things, this is not a big issue. This whole thing. Now, but going back to this infrastructure bill. I think this is a no-brainer. I mean, we've got Bernie Sanders is a huge supporter of this. I don't know if he is now because it's probably going to be looking at opposition party where they're just going to try to say no to every single thing.
Right.
Which I think is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and it was ridiculous when the Republicans did it. And
like I said, I mean, you know me. I've been arguing about this point the whole time that they literally just said no. And I think that if the Democrats start doing that, which it looks like they're going to do, like Chuck Schumer coming out with all of his uber partisan points that he tries to push, that we're going to be in a bad spot. And I don't see, if this becomes a trend to where every single election cycle, the party who's not in power just does the least amount of work that they possibly can in order to get power again, so the next party can do the least amount that they possibly can.
Yeah, I mean,
that puts us in a shit situation.
No, I totally agree with you, and I hope that that's not what happens. At the
Vote red in the midterms. That's what I'm saying.
No,
and I would say the same thing. If Hillary Clinton would have won, I would have said vote blue during the midterms, even though I'm a Republican, because I think that we just need something to get done, dude. Like,
If Hillary Clinton had won the election, you would be in my seat right now.
I would be upset. I would be very
And,
upset. But at some point, like I said, I would have been able to say, okay, listen, she's the president. That's the way that it's going to go. I don't agree with a lot of what they want to do, but let's give anything a
But luckily
shot.
for you, you don't have to say that.
No, I don't.
Instead, you can just touch tips with Putin like the rest of your party.
That's right. I think that's a good thing.
And that's fine. I don't. I think that Vladimir Putin probably wakes up in the morning and thinks about how to throw a wrench into the world's plans.
I don't agree with
think
that at all.
that regimes like Putin's and like Kim Jong-un, who like to stand, both of them who like to stand back in the corner and shout things so that people turn around and look at them.
Kim Jong-un is a chode bucket, so we all agree on that.
So is Vladimir Putin.
I
We
think
won't
that-
agree on that,
yeah,
but
no,
so is Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
And
I
the
think
thing
that
is,
Vladimir Putin's going to do whatever is going to be good for Russia. And if it's before, it was easy to oppose America because we were under Barack Obama, who literally just handed him the Middle East.
what's good for
If we stand up to him, he's not gonna push back.
I believe that what's good for Russia and what's good for ilk of that type, Kim Jong-un's, the guys who like to draw attention, the Ahmadinejads who like to flex their muscles so that you lift sanctions.
He's gone anyway.
What I do think that benefits them the most is instability in the global.
Well, they like doubt, and I understand that. That's why I feel like we need to stop doubting everything that we're doing. If we need to start being strong again because we gave up the Middle East. And
we did.
Yeah, and that was under Barack Obama. He just said, go on in. So whether we like it or not, Russia is a main power in the region
to
now.
defend Barack Obama's
Good luck.
decision to do that. I'm not saying that. I won't say that it was the right thing to do because obviously history has played itself out, and we know that it wasn't the right thing to do, and we allowed Russia to become what they're trying to be by doing it. What I will say is to Barack Obama's want to get out of the Middle East when we did. He was listening to us. We didn't want to be there, and we may be stupid.
I think
but I think that, and maybe not you specifically, but I think both sides.
Other people like me too.
I think both sides, Republicans and Democrats, were so fatigued from 15 years of war, a George W. Bush war against an idea. A war that'll never end because you don't defeat an ideology that
you can destroy their leadership, and if they destroy their leadership, they typically tend to crumble until the next guy shows up. We just need to be vigilant and be able to take them out as well.
So I think though that because we were put into multiple wars that lasted over a decade and a half.
Yeah. No finish in sight.
Right. I think that people were wanting to not be the world's police in 2010 and 2011, 12.
As Barack Obama, the commander in chief, he should have known better.
I don't disagree with that. And that's where I won't defend him. Yeah. That's where I will not tell you that ISIS would not be what ISIS is today without us leaving Iraq and allowing for a vacuum. Or giving all those
weapons to the rebels, and then the rebels just set them down and gave it to them.
I totally agree with that. What I will say is that in 2012, 11, 10, 9, and 8, when he was elected, we wanted...
Which I voted for him, by the way.
We wanted out of the Middle East.
Yeah.
So I can't...
War for oil and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah.
Now, at the same time, I can't say that populist speech is a political play without saying that was a play too. That was a play to his base. Yeah. That was a play to get me to vote for him again, which he was successful at because I didn't want to be in Iraq. History is a great teacher. So we can look back at it now and say, wow, I was wrong. I dropped the ball. That was the wrong decision.
I'm hoping to not say that about Trump. We'll see what goes on. I think that in his speech, what he said, I thought he was very strong on, listen, we've got our borders. We basically got our country back.
Yeah, but here's the thing about borders. That's a populist play.
I mean, it is, yeah, but why is that a bad thing?
We don't have a huge problem with our borders. We have a 10-year decline in illegal immigration. Since 2006, we have, on a yearly basis, our illegal immigration problem has gotten better and better and better for each of the 10 years. Obama deported more immigrants than any other administration in history.
Yeah. Wait, like I've said before, that is a new metric. According to how they started doing it, is as soon as they started turning people away from the border, that counts as a deportation, which that's just doing your job. That's stopping people from coming in as they should be doing illegally.
And that's fair.
We want to have people come in legally if they got something to offer.
And I would say, as far as the White House is concerned, that's not a fair metric to use. Just like it's probably not a fair metric to say that everybody that was standing on the streets on Friday and in their living rooms and watching on their computers and thinking about Donald Trump's hairline or Melania Trump naked, that was the biggest viewership that any White House has ever gotten.
Using my metrics, my dick is so huge.
It was so big. It was big league crowds. Big league.
Totally. Now, like I said, when it comes to me being a Republican, I go a little bit off the beaten path on immigration because I don't think it's as much of an issue, simply because it hasn't been since the recession. They have stopped coming. Before the recession, when everything was booming and everything was going good, they were coming in droves. And that was an issue. Now it's not so much because they stopped coming as much because there's no jobs.
And obviously we're talking about
we're trying to bring jobs back now.
And
so
we're
is it gonna
talking
become an issue. I don't know.
Specifically right now about people south of our border. Another good point to the populist. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy to have big walls around my country. Is that since 2001, since September 11th, we've had like, I don't know, I had the numbers written down. It was like somewhere between 20 and 30 terrorist attacks. The biggest one being the Pulse nightclub shooting last year, which killed 49 people, I think, dead.
Close to 50.
But with the exception of that, I think that the rest of the terrorist attacks combined in the United States has been less than that number of people at the Pulse nightclub. And what that does is it puts us at 35th. At 35th on the list of nations that actually have to worry about terrorism.
And that sounds good. That makes it sound like it's not a problem. But the biggest thing that we have going for us is our oceans. So it's hard to get to us. That's why we have a problem. And we need to juxtapose this to what Hillary Clinton was proposing. She was on record saying that she would like to bring in thousands and thousands of migrants from war-torn Syria and all these other places, and that has universally failed in Europe.
Okay.
Europe is completely rejecting it. You've got Angela Merkel, who is damn near the lone survivor of her party. She did that, and you see what happened.
Well, she won't be in
I don't think she will be. No.
She won't. She will
You see
not
what
win.
happened
She's
with
been in power for 12 years.
Denmark, which was one time considered, the liberal haven of, they came in, they let all of these migrants come in, and these refugees really. And what happened was you saw that they instantly got free healthcare, they got free education, they got all these services for free, and they couldn't afford it. So now Denmark has passed some of the harshest anti-refugee legislation. But for some reason, liberals in America just think that it's going to work out fine in America.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't make any sense.
No, I definitely think that when you talk about,
so that's why when we talk about borders, that's why it's important. Because not so much for the scary brown people south, because I don't believe that, but more for the refugee and the ISIS issue that we might be kind of insulated against by our oceans. But if we just start letting everyone come in and we don't have a good system, we're going to have a lot more problems. And as you've said, we've had 30 attacks so far. I don't want to see that number rise.
No, and I don't either. I just think it's good to keep that in perspective, that while 30 attacks sounds like a lot, it's not. It's not. Like, look at the list of other countries and the amount of attacks there, and then look at the fact that our terrorist attacks since 2011 typically maybe kill one or two people, maybe. And I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not defending
numbers wise. I understand what you're saying.
Right, but what I'm saying is let's not pretend that we're in a constant state of attack, because we're not. And
I think we're under a constant threat of attack. I don't want to increase that threat.
I think that no matter what time in history that we're speaking about, that's always true.
I don't agree, man.
I think whether it's the Cuban Missile Crisis or whether
that's kind of a big deal,
whether it's the Cold War, or the second Cold War that's about to start.
Wouldn't you like to warm that up a little bit and start touching tips with Putin?
No, I
best
don't.
way to warm it all up,
No, because Putin is when Donald Trump said accurately a few months ago that our leaders are stupid, he was talking about today. And Donald
I think they have shown stupid leadership in the past years.
And I think they're about to show more. And
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I am too, but I think that by allowing Putin to get warm and cozy with us, as we have seen in the past does not work, then we're taking a big risk. And I also think that flexing your muscle with somebody like Putin, if things go south, will be too little too late. So, because we're already weak. So
I grudgingly give you that point just because that is my doomsday scenario where we bolster this relationship with Russia and we start to get cozy and our policies start helping them, their policies start helping us, and then they turn on us. And we saw that in World War II where Russia cozied up to Hitler. And, it was supposed to go well for them. And then Hitler said, let's go ahead and attack Russia.
A few years ago, the Ukrainian-Russian relationship was supposed to be on the men's too.
Yeah.
And
I always saw it happen there.
Where's Crimea now? Yeah. I don't think that scenario doesn't happen because Putin is not a good guy. And you can try to paint it however you want.
Yeah, but that's the best way to find his intentions. We make him an ally. Okay, so now he's an ally. Now he's supposed to be working within our own interest. And I think that together we can destroy ISIS. And let's face it, they have won. They have won the Syrian war. It's over.
I don't think that you will ever destroy ISIS because ISIS exists because an ideology exists that says the West is the bad guy. What furthers that ideology is when you put up big walls around your country. And
it also kind of helps us keep us safe. So
fair, but
I think it's a good trade-off. I think that Obama operated way too much on the optics of trying to be a great negotiator without actually being a great negotiator.
Well, I don't think you negotiate with people like ISIS.
He did. I mean, shit, we saw that with Bergdahl. Here you go. Here's 5 hardened criminals for 1 coward. That was a stupid deal.
It was a stupid deal.
That 5, what was it? Give 1, get 5 free deal.
But when Donald Trump says in his inauguration speech, "We will eradicate radical Islam from the face of the earth,"
who's against that?
No one's against that.
Yeah.
Smart people know that's not going to work because radical Islam is an idea. It's not a movement. Yeah. It's not a person. It's not a group of people.
Let's be real. It has not been an issue for a vast part of time. It's only been in the past, there's been spots of it in the past 30 years, but now is really the time.
Thomas Jefferson and the Tripoli Pirates. Check it out. I just gave you a plug, Brian Kilmeade. Right. Thomas Jefferson dealt with radical Islam. So I'll let the listener look that up on their own. Radical Islam has always existed. And the reason why is for the same reason that radical Christianity has always existed, because a-holes are a-holes. And
there's a difference. No one of all those attacks. I think I don't know the exact number of attacks that we've had this year, but we're probably somewhere around 9 or so, 10, somewhere around there.
In 2016.
Yeah, in 2016. Yeah, and a lot of people don't like to give that one that was a Christian attack, but there was one Christian terrorist attack where he attacked the Planned Parenthood and all that.
Not just one. There was also
I can't remember any other ones.
I'm pretty sure that a church in South Carolina got shot up by a neo-Nazi.
That was a mental health issue. That had nothing to do with
everyone that shoots up anywhere is a mental health issue.
Yeah, but I mean,
normal people don't shoot up places because they're
mad.
You're talking
about Dylan Ruth?
Yes, I am talking about Dylan Ruth.
Yeah, I mean, if you've seen any of the things with him, he doesn't even know how many people were there. That guy's a bonkers case. I mean, it's not like he's sitting there recruiting people to come help him do it. He's just a fuckhead.
Not. He's a white nationalist.
Yeah, well, I might give you that one. But.
So what I'm saying, and I'm not saying that's a. I don't know. I'm not saying that they happen at the same rate anymore, because they don't. Not in America.
Let's just be real. I mean, obviously, radical Islamic terrorists are attacking at a much higher frequency than radical Christian terrorists.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't argue against that at all. What I will say is if you think that if Donald Trump thinks that he's going to eradicate radical Islam from the face of the earth, as he
There's a
put
little bit of
it.
hyperbole there, but yeah, I mean, I don't think
All
it's a
I'm
bad thing to
saying
say.
is you just set a really high bar.
Yeah.
So
oh, he typically does. I don't
when
think there's anything wrong with setting a high bar and trying to accomplish as much as we can.
Well,
this
it's
is
not-
an area where I think we all can agree on, and I think it's an area that we can bring in new allies. We can bolster our relationship with Russia and really help to work it. We're going to have to buy Putin, or not Putin. We're going to have to buy Assad too. That's already happened. We fucked that up.
Yeah,
So
we
you
did.
only fumble the ball so many times before it's the other team's turn.
Yeah, no,
So-
I don't disagree with that, but I do think that while you're trying to fight an idea with a bar that high, that don't be surprised if this is Donald Trump's Gitmo.
Yeah.
Because while Barack Obama came into power saying, hey, guess what, my little liberal friends, we're going to close this jail and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And we all
Now-
loved it. We loved it at the time. And 2 days ago, they were still explaining why it's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, it,
Now, going back, and we basically covered his speech. I mean, that was really the only big points that I had. But
I do think that there is something to be said, though, and that the right should really remember that there is a difference between patriotism and populism and nationalism. And
Well, let me
I
get the
don't.
exact quote here.
And I think that.
this is what he said that basically brought up the whole patriotism and all that. He said, when you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. And initially, I really liked the quote. I thought it was, and it kind of waned on me when I started to think about it a little bit. But
I think
I don't think there's anything wrong with being very patriotic.
No, I don't
And
either.
I think it was a patriotic speech. I think he did a good job.
I don't think he did a good job. I don't. First of all, he's not a good orator.
Fucking liberal.
At all. He's not a good orator. He can't.
No, he's not.
He seems out of his element. While he's reading off a teleprompter.
He needs to be professional wrestling. Then it would come across a lot better.
Right. Cage match of doom.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I do
Shave
think
Putin's head. No.
I do think that there is nothing wrong with being patriotic. I think that the right and the left see patriotism differently. I think that
I don't understand the left's definition. I just don't.
I think the right sees patriotism as I have to wrap myself in an American flag and stand by everything that my side says. Whereas
don't think
I think that the left typically just likes to dissent, whether or not it's whether it's against themselves or whether it's against the right.
Yeah.
I think that the left is more of that dissenting party, and I think that
I feel like they love the illusion of the high ground, even if they're not actually really taking it. They like to pretend they're taking it.
I think that yes, in certain circumstances, that's right. Like I think when we start talking about these crazy topics like safe spaces and stuff, that they're trying to take the high road, and it's not really existent. I also think too that the right doesn't see the high road. So
No, because we don't give a shit about the high road. I mean, we're going to get the job done, in my opinion.
And so I think that when you talk about things from
I'll take whatever road I can to get it done.
a moral or ethical standpoint, which I think is important, I don't think you just throw away ethics. Sometimes the high road is the road to take.
Sometimes, yeah. I don't think it's at all time. And so I get a little irritated whenever they pretend to be taking the high road and quite clearly they're not.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't think like Meryl Streep probably shouldn't talk about politics, and Donald Trump doesn't need to swing down. So
Right.
both of you take the high road. Shut up.
The only thing that I wanted to touch on the inauguration speech was he called out Washington, and he did it pretty hard. I mean, these are the guys that are basically going to be having to work with him. Now, obviously, we saw that there was already opposition because a lot of the Democrats didn't even show up.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of wished he wouldn't have gone so hard on calling him out.
I think he's going to be in for a rude awakening in the future, in the near future,
I hope you're wrong.
when he realizes that just because I'm president of the United States, leader of the free world, however you want to term it, doesn't mean that Washington doesn't run Washington. They do. And they're going
separation
to.
of powers.
And now that you're a part of the game, you may have found a way to not play the game through the campaign. Sure, you obviously surprised all of us, and Hillary Clinton did not help Democrats' chances. And the fact that Barack Obama had 2 terms made this a Republican year anyway. So running Hillary Clinton was the wrong choice, and it allowed Donald Trump to play the game by his own set of rules. But now that he is a piece of that puzzle, he's going to find out really quick that he's not the guy. He's the poster boy. And I think we as a country and as an international community as well are going to find out how much good and how much damage can be done by a few sentences.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Okay, final thoughts on the inauguration speech. I thought it was not the best speech in the world, but I loved it. I loved almost everything, especially when I read it. The first time I saw it, I had read it as opposed to hearing it. It lost a little bit of its luster for me.
My first interaction with the speech was listening to it on the radio. I didn't like it. I
you
thought
sent me a lot of shit emojis.
I thought it was. I thought it was kind of the same. I thought the New Deal was like the only real difference in this speech from any other speech. And then when I saw it on TV, I really didn't like it. I really just thought because he's not a freaking leader. He doesn't act like a leader. He doesn't look like a leader.
He talks, people listen. I think that's a leader.
It's like that. It's like that sketch in Peep Show where he's like, "Are we the baddies? I think you're the baddies, and you just haven't realized it yet."
We got skulls on our hats. Are we the baddies?
So we'll see what happens. But I mean, to sum up the inauguration, it happened.
It definitely happened.
So
I guess at this point we're just gonna have to sit back.
We'll see what press release 2 from the White House brings.
Hopefully it's better than that.
So anyway.
Kind of